Hello, welcome to Moments of Hope. I want to share with you a very vulnerable story today, so I hope you'll give me some grace. When I was a young child, I was often told that I had a beautiful, wonderful singing voice. And I appreciated those kind words, and they kind of created a place in my heart where I thought that this was true and I was a great singer. I went through adolescence and something started to change. When I would start to sing, I would see people moving away from me because maybe I didn't sound as good as I thought that I sounded. But there was something inside of me that was convinced that I still had this beautiful singing voice and the world just hadn't realized it yet. A few years ago, we went to Hollywood Studios at the time when they were having the American Idol show. This was kind of like the TV show that we see on our screens, but it was in person, it was a smaller audience, but still, I thought, for me, this is an opportunity to prove everybody wrong and to show the world that I do have a great singing voice. And so, in preparation for our trip to Hollywood Studios, I picked out a song, I printed out the lyrics, and for a few days beforehand I would start singing in the car, in the shower, just privately to prepare myself to show the world what a great voice I had. And so we went to Hollywood Studios. I signed up, Tracy signed up. We waited a few hours on other rides, and then we went to the place where you auditioned. Tracy was taken to a room, and I'm sure she did really well, certainly much better than I. And I was taken to a room where there were two other people listening, sitting behind a big, intimidating desk. Hi, you must be Andy. We're glad you're here. Thanks for coming. Show us what you've got, and if you're good enough, we'll put you in our show tonight. So I pulled out the lyrics from my pocket, I opened them up, and I started singing. I'm not going to tell you what I sung, but let me just say it was an old Whitney Houston ballad. And so I started singing, I hit most of the notes right, and I was pretty proud of how I did. And so at the end of the song, I kind of confidently folded my words up, put them in my pocket, and just waited. I was trying to read the expression on the faces of these two judges who were going to give me my big break in the show that evening, and that show this evening would catapult me to a national platform of singing well. But that never happened. And the lady, the judge, very professionally, as kindly as she could, she said, "Sir, we have got no room for you in our show. We have got no room for you in our show." And as she said that, I knew exactly what she was saying. You're not as good as you think you are. You're not that great. You missed a lot of the notes. You were singing out of key. Sir, we have no room for you in our show. I walked away a little bit disappointed, but grateful that perhaps she'd helped me see the realistic place that my singing deserved. Often in life, there are a lot of people who look at us and say, "I got no room for you in my show. I got no room for you in my life. You're not good enough. You're hitting the wrong notes. You're missing the mark. There's no room for you in the show." Some people live like that. Some people hear that. But here's the good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ. In the show that really matters, in the place that really matters, as God is working out this great and grand and beautiful narrative, as He's redeeming the world and fulfilling His purposes, He does have room for you in His show. He knows your gifts. He knows your talents. He's created you for a purpose. He's given you a role to play, a purpose to fulfill. And God looks at each one of us and says, wow, that person is wonderfully and fearfully made. I've got room for them in this great show that I'm writing. Friend, today my encouragement, even though we live in a world where there's lots of judgmental people who look at us and say, I got no need for you. There's no room for you in this show. We have a God who looks at us and loves us and says, yes! I got room for him. I got room for her in my show, in my story, in my kingdom. Be encouraged today. You matter to God. He looks at you and says, you're good. You're gifted. Go use your gifts to further my story. I hope you've enjoyed this moment of hope. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, God's got room for you in His story. Take care. God bless. Have a great rest of the day.